Okay. Perfect. Hopefully we should be live. Oh, is that the... Okay, perfect. I was like, is that the bot saying that we're live on Twitch? Okay, it is.
Yep,
Wonderful.
live.
Okay, perfect. Just make sure we got enough little front end so we have video with our opening music when I publish the video later. Okay, everybody ready?
Let's
Ready?
do it.
All right. Welcome to episode 43 of the TCCG Roundtable. We're your hosts, dragonrider, DankestDad, and RonMexico. How's it going today, guys?
It's going great.
Doing well.
Good, good. It is, we got to say this. It's Friday. It's Friday. We did it. We made it to Friday. Woo!
It's always a great way to start off a podcast. Do a podcast on Friday. You're always happy on Friday.
Exactly. I love it. And plus, there's like that's when things get released, and we're all just exciting things are happening, and it's just good stuff. So yes, it is Friday. Really quick before we jump into the things that we have to talk about today, I am just curious if any of you guys have anything cool going on. What do we have going on, card game wise or personal wise? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I had my birthday last week. That's why part of why I was gone, at least. Got to celebrate that with a trip, and now I am back to play lots and lots and lots of card games this weekend. So another celebration, if you would.
No better way to bring in another year.
Yep.
Yes. How about
Happy
you, Ron?
late birthday.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I guess we wish you a happy early birthday on podcast previous time, but
Yeah, see, I'm
now
double
it's happy
dipping.
late birthday. Yeah, just cover all bases.
Double birthday. Yeah, exactly.
I don't have a whole lot too exciting on my end. Just doing my regular streaming thing. I'm just happy that nobody in my household is sick as of right now, which I can't say for previous days, but things are looking up as of today, so it's good.
Awesome. Well, yeah, not being sick is great. As someone who has been sick, what feels like this entire year so far, I am like, no sickness equals good things.
Yes.
So we hope it stays that way. I guess, as for me, I did want to share that I have been given my first official Hearthstone card reveals.
That's
Yay!
right.
So
This is super exciting. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, that's
thanks.
awesome.
I'm so excited. I'm putting in a lot of work, like research, making sure that I like know the cards that I'm going to be talking about, like in comparison and with these cards and stuff too. And I feel like I say smart things, but then sometimes I know I say really stupid things. So I'm like, I don't want to say stupid things. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think it'll be good. I am very excited. But yeah, so that video will be coming out on Tuesday, the 27th. So just a few days after we're posting
Mark
this.
your calendars.
So,
Tuesday,
yeah.
February 27th, 2024. Dragonrider Hearthstone card reveal. You'll love to see it.
That's
That
right.
you do.
That's right. I am excited. But there is a ton of other stuff to be excited about. So let's start. We're going to start by talking about some news and a couple of like competitive things. And then, after that, we'll move into kind of our main topic here. But to get into some news, of course, we do have, I think it's probably starting to wrap up by now, but the Yugioh celebrating 25 years was kind of happening. And then we're ramping up even more for the Hearthstone 10-year anniversary that will be coming in just a few weeks now. It is officially March 11th is the 10-year anniversary for Hearthstone. So some pretty cool milestones for card games. And then, of course, we'll have like right around the corner too, card game launches and some new stuff too. So really cool like milestones for a couple of card games.
Yeah, absolutely. AKA reminders that you're getting old. But don't worry about that part.
Hey,
Focus on the milestone.
It's really crazy too. Like I think the last time I played Yu-Gi-Oh in any organized fashion was when Pharaoh's Servant was the new booster, which is like the 4th one, I think. So it's been a bit.
Oh my.
just a little bit of time.
Yeah, I think what made me feel old with these is when Dankest and I were talking about the main topic yesterday, and he shared a card example with me. And when did you say that magic card was from? And how old did you say you were?
1993, -1 in the womb.
Ouch.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. Oh, totally same. I wasn't already born like years before that. Oh, I was like,
Yep,
oh, okay. Oh, we don't need to talk about that. Oh, so yeah, kind of very interesting. And then like Magic last year just hit 30 years. So yeah. Oh, we're just getting to that point where it's a lot of milestones for card games. So super cool. All right, Ron, you want to talk about some cool Hearthstone stuff that's been happening?
Absolutely. So there is a whole bunch going on with Hearthstone for the 10-year anniversary. Not only is there an event coming up in just a couple days that will be revealed in game, but we have the Year of the Pegasus is incoming with rotation right around that 10-year anniversary in March, I believe March 19th. That's when the core set will change. So a whole bunch of cards that we've had available, not from any specific recent expansion. Some of them will be leaving the standard game mode. Some new ones, new's the wrong term. Some older cards that have been around over the course of Hearthstone's 10-year history will be reintroduced into standard with the core set, as well as a brand new expansion, Whizbang's Workshop, that has already had card reveals started. And of course, you know, in case you weren't listening earlier when we mentioned our very own dragonrider is going to be revealing one of said cards on Tuesday the 27th, so don't miss that. Just a whole lot of really exciting new interesting things for Hearthstone. One of the highlight cards right off the bat is a new Ziliax card that's being introduced that is completely customizable within the deck building aspect of the game. You can choose between I think 8 maybe different like ways that you can combine to make your very own Ziliax that you put into your deck, and then it will be that way when you start your game. And if you want to, you can change that for your next game or so on, just by going back in and customizing it. So a really cool, interesting mechanic that Hearthstone has never seen before that's getting introduced. Sort of similar to like what they did with ETC, but a new, more developed take on it. Just a whole lot of really exciting, flashy things to get excited about with the Whizbang's Workshop expansion. And with Hearthstone hitting 10 years, it's a nice time to take a look back and look at all the cards we've had for so long. Some of them have never ever left, like for instance Shadow Step for Rogue. It's still around. Maybe it will never ever leave. And then there are other ones that we thought would always be here, like King Crush for Hunter, which I'm a little sad is actually going to be leaving the core set. However, there is a brand new King Crush styled card that is being introduced in Whizbang's Workshop called King Plush, and it is adorable. It also might be really good, but primarily, just look at him. So yeah, there's a lot of cool things with Hearthstone going on. And of course, you can find it on Blizzard's official website, where they have just oodles of information about all of the new cards that are going to be in the core set, all of the cards that have currently been revealed, and more to come.
Soul Stealer, never leave me. Thank God you're still around. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I feel like I need that king plush. Like, what is better than a plushy dinosaur? It's great. I need it.
Nothing.
What if we could get the Wheel of Death as merch? If I could have a nice big wooden wheel behind me to spin. Come on,
You could probably make it yourself. Yeah,
I could.
It might be a little more sturdy and like up to your specs. You know, maybe you could make it however you want. Maybe it won't be 8 mana if you create it.
Maybe. This is why I married a mechanical engineer, right? I gotta.
There you go. Yeah,
one
you
mana
get some good use.
always
out of that.
starts in your hand.
Yeah.
Disaster. Oh my gosh. There's also going to be a really cool like community day that there's going to be a bunch of like Twitch drops on March 11th as well. And they're also coming out with official, like, it's an album, but it's like 30 tracks, like official soundtracks from the game, which is really cool because, and there's going to be 2 more later this year, but as a creator, I'm excited for that because that means there's official Hearthstone music that is public that we can use for content and not get like copyright strikes and stuff. So yay! Like that's good. I'm excited for that.
Saviors of Doom theme on Spotify. Let's go, please.
Love it.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Also, have either of you heard what was it? It was like the Murloc Yule log.
No.
From like years ago.
I don't think so.
Oh my gosh. Okay. On YouTube, they had like a 12-hour one, and then there might be like a 3-hour one or something. But it is a Yule. It's like a Yule log like holiday, and it's like Murloc sounds singing. It's
awesome.
fantastic. And there's just like a fireplace. It's like burning, and there's. It's great. And I listened to that like for countless hours over multiple holidays.
Of course.
So for me, like hearing that and then them to say like, hey, here's like official soundtrack stuff. I'm like, yes, more stuff I can just like listen to at random times. I mean, like the WoW music or like Diablo music is super cool to just listen to at random times. So like, you know, you get the cool soundtracks, you know. Put on Hearthstone music. Let's go. I'm excited.
Do you think that they could sneak in the Journey to Angora or Frozen Throne raps from Ben Bro? Do you think they have the rights to that?
I don't know. Probably not, sadly. That might be. I wonder if they would do like a special edition type of album where they could put stuff like that.
Maybe they have a cover.
Fantastic. Yeah,
Here you go.
The official Hearthstone cover of Ben Brode's unofficial Hearthstone cover of the official Hearthstone.
Get
Get
ridiculous hat to do it. Rap God hat.
Gosh.
It'll be perfect.
He could talk that fast. You just put like some soundtrack behind it. Just put some bars behind him talking. You got it.
Yeah,
it's there. All right. We'll get into a couple other things here. Marvel Snap. Yeah. Oh. Have you been playing it? I don't know. Like
I haven't been playing myself, but while I was on my trip, one of my friends does play, so I heard a bit about the Power Couple event. So this has just come to a close, but pretty much to try and push some more unusual combinations. They made a little bit of change so that certain pairs of cards would be a power couple. And when you played one, it would give the other +2 power wherever it is. And then when you play the other, the original also gets the same boost. So, you know, it's 4 power in total, not the biggest incentive, but it did kind of lead to a few combinations that were not the usual ones in Snap, which is cool. And with that event coming to a close, it almost certainly means there's a new one around the corner. So stay tuned, and maybe we'll see some new Marvel Snap stuff very soon.
It feels like they put out a lot of constant, like, I don't want to say constant, but like frequent, like changes and adaptations and different stuff. So, yeah. Well, also speaking about new releases, the Disney Lorcana Into the Inklands, which is set 3. I can't believe how when we started this show, we were pretty much like, oh my gosh, Disney Lorcana just got announced. Like, there's going to be this game. And now we're already like, oh, by the way, like, now it's going to be set 3 releasing here very soon. Yeah, so that is releasing into local game stores. I believe we said today, right, Dankest? Today soon.
Hey.
Today soon. You can find Into the Inklands at some of your local game stores. And in 2 weeks from now, which we'll put it at March 8th, Friday, March 8th. You can find it in retailers like Target, Walmart, all that kind of good stuff. Best Buys, I'm sure. And that's not the only thing releasing that same. Oh my gosh, there's so many things happening that weekend.
Yes.
Universus Beyond Fallout stuff will be coming out also March 8th. They did just reveal the commander decks for that this past week. And I think I started seeing a couple more just like single card reveals. I don't know if you guys have seen that as well.
Yeah, so I believe that this product is just commander decks, correct? So
there's also booster packs.
Hmm.
So I don't know how much of the cards are just commander decks and how much are in the boosters. But I did see, I think it was yesterday, like after Dankest and I were looking at some of this, I got on much later in the day and was like, oh, and now here's some like couple cards revealed. Interesting. Okay. I don't follow Magic as closely as I could, but also they release so much stuff that even if I did follow closely, I don't think I could keep up with it fully, to be honest. So, but the Fallout concept is super cool. I really liked the Doctor Who theme. I liked the Lord of the Rings theme. I know my husband is like very big fan of Fallout, so it's really cool to see them kind of doing these universes and crossovers.
Yep, and you'll hear lots of Liberty Prime voice lines or impressions at your table. And communism will not stand. Better dead than red, as you destroy the red player, presumably. Who knows? But yeah, I did just double check, and it is so 4 pre-constructed commander decks, and then there is a collector's booster product that has alternate arts and premium versions of the cards in said deck. So
oh, gotcha, that's what it is. Okay.
Yep. So same sort of release as Doctor Who.
Gotcha. Yep. So we should know all of the cards, right? But we maybe don't know all of the like artwork and the special stuff there. But yeah, that will also be releasing March 8th. And then I guess real quick here, I will let Dankest talk about Pokemon and then Legends of Runeterra.
All right. So for Pokemon, the newest set, Temporal Forces, has been announced, and it's coming out March 22nd with over 160 new cards. So, of course, it's the next big set, and standard rotation is just around the corner for Pokemon. So we'll talk about that a little bit more on the competitive side, but with the new set, new cards are coming. So going to be some big changes there. And I know I'm ready. I got my Trainer's Toolkit 2023. I'm going to be trying to put some decks together and give Pokemon a real shot this year. Should be a fun one. And then Legends of Runeterra. So I know that we were sort of on gloom and doom a couple of weeks ago, the last time we were talking about this game, but still at a grassroots level, things are very much alive, and Runeterra's newest variety set has just been spoiled. So with Legends of Runeterra, they don't have a mini set like Hearthstone does or some other digital games. Instead, they release a few cards that flavor-wise usually match the current set, but mechanically play into mechanics from past sets that are still in standard. So rather than, go the strict balance change route, they're instead injecting these new cards into old archetypes to give them a second chance and let them have their time to shine. So they gave a lot of these reveals to people who placed well in their content creator invitational. So if you are familiar with Legends of Runeterra, creators like Boulevard and Rico Rex were revealing cards that thematically, sort of fit their own play styles and are actually in part inspired by them, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, Standard is now pretty fresh with this new patch, and if you're looking to play the game in the last couple seasons of traditional sets, good as time as any to give it a try.
And speaking of looking to give games a try, if you want to try SolForge Fusion, which I know I have mentioned on this podcast quite a few times, the beta, it's like the beta version essentially for anyone who backed the Kickstarter of the SolForge Fusion digital clients. Those beta keys were getting handed out this week. There is a tournament. I guess the time we're recording this, it'll be tomorrow morning. It'll be Saturday morning, essentially. That will actually be played in the digital client. They are capping it at, I believe, 64 players. Just to make sure that, it's not some insanely long tournament or anything like that. But it's kind of just like a kickoff tournament to celebrate the official launch. They have had an alpha version where they've had, some alpha testers and some people that are really involved in the community playing that. But this is what they're considering the beta version. And then in about a month, maybe month and a half or so, I believe it should be starting to roll out a little bit for a more open beta so that more people can play that. But this kind of early beta access was for the Kickstarter backers. So I've definitely done that so far. It's feeling very slick. It's got a pretty nice tutorial that really walks you through it. And the animations and playing things seem really nice so far. So very happy with that. And then another one that I am also very, very excited for is Star Wars Unlimited. Yet another card game that is coming out March 8th. So, if you're into card games, March 8th is the place, the date to be at your local game store or wherever you
March 8th is the day that Don's head will explode.
Yes, I'm so excited.
As she tries to play all of the games at once.
Yes. Don't worry. I've got a system. It's still in the process of being organized, but there's something. There's something
Nice.
there. But yes, it is finally officially launching. We've been talking about Star Wars Unlimited for a little while now, but finally officially launching. And with that, one reason why I specifically also want to talk about this is that there are pre-release events coming, I guess, next weekend. So not tomorrow or Sunday, as of the next 2 days. A week from this weekend, there will be pre-release events, and I am definitely aiming to hopefully hit a couple of those in some different places. So I'm hoping to actually kind of work with those game stores, maybe set up a little bit of content recording and stuff while I'm there. I will hopefully be able to post about being at those stores. So if anybody is close to those areas and wants to come say hi or try out the game, and I'll be there wearing my AFG jersey, so you'll definitely be able to, to know it's me. Those pre-release events they all should be the same. It's like a sealed version. Everybody will get 6 packs, and you'll be able to open those 6 packs and create a deck from those cards that you open, and then there will be 4 rounds of play, and everyone will get a pack for every round that you win. So if you win for all 4 rounds, you get additional 4 packs plus the 6 that you get for competing. So cool way to start building your collection. Plus I'm sure there'll be some other product you can start buying and getting into it. And then after that, the week after that is when it officially releases. So definitely when we have these new card games coming out. That's always like a big topic that we definitely want to hit and talk about. So if you're interested in that, we'd love to hear your experience if you play in any of those or if you're looking forward to playing it. And that's not even all the releases. We still have another one. Dankest, what else do we have?
So this weekend, today, right now, today soon, Yu Yu Hakusho Dark Tournament is coming out for Universus. So I know that pretty much right after this, I will be heading off to my own release event. They've done the card game Sin. There's no pre-release. It's just a release. It's out. Unheard of.
So weird. I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah.
Wild stuff.
So I will be playing in 3 release events this weekend for this set. Excited to try it out. Cards are super, super cool. And yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. And with this release also comes Universus standard rotation. So the first My Hero Academia set has rotated out. Dark Tournament is coming in. And then the competitive season 1 starts. So if you are interested in giving the game a shot, it's the perfect time to go try. And yeah, you'll be in on the ground floor for a fun competitive year with a great community.
And if you want to get a little bit more information on kind of at least like how to start diving into that, we did really kind of talk about that. Dankest went into some really good like answers to a lot of my questions, 2 weeks ago? So episode 40, it was episode 43, but we've recorded that 2 weeks ago. As well as you do have some videos and some articles on the AFG website about this Dark Tournament specifically, correct?
Correct. And just this morning, I put up one on the best sealed characters to use in your release event. So if you are looking to play, be sure to take a look at that. And if you win your release event, you do get entry into that Wish tournament that I mentioned 2 weeks ago. So
nice.
That will be the weekend of March 9th and 10th. I'm sure you won't be busy playing any other games, of course. But if you are into Universes and are able to win a release event, then you can compete in the Wish tournament and try to take home that first prize, which is a smooth Chrome Rare, which is the rarest of rare cards, and they look sick. And then you get to actually make a wish that the team can grant you. Do you want a bunch of product? Do you want to go to Gen Con, have a VIP experience and dinner with the team? Do you want to design your own card for an upcoming set? Well, you can get any one of those things if you're the last person standing. So I'll be gunning for it myself. We'll see if I can get there, but lots of great players and great people that you'll meet along the way, even if you come up short. So worth a shot.
If you do, Dankest, which one would you pick?
So I've thought about this a lot, and I think that I would probably pick dinner with the team and the Gen Con experience and regret it for the rest of my life. But it's so hard.
I thought you were going to say design your own card.
I know.
Is that why it would be the regret for the rest of your life? Because you're like,
Yes.
I could have designed my own card.
I know.
But I
want
really want to have dinner with the team. Yeah.
I want it so bad. But getting to meet the team in Orlando about a few weeks ago, it feels like it was so long ago. It was just 2.5 weeks. Wow. So getting to meet and talk with everyone there was just incredible. And, I would just love to hear more stories, more about what their design process is like and plans, as well as, getting to go to Gen Con, get the full experience there, get some product, get to hang out at the booth. That would also be pretty awesome. But
here's the big brain move, though. You go to the dinner and you design your own card at the dinner, and you convince them to make it.
Porque no los dos. You got
it. Yeah, try to get 2 wishes all in one.
Yeah.
Love
Wish
it.
for more wishes. Why didn't I think of that?
Oh my gosh. You know what? You could do the dinner with them and then say that you wish that you could have played other card games at Gen Con and see what they say. I don't know. They probably
well,
would like that. Don't do that. Never mind. Just kidding.
No, from the people I've talked to, I have a sneaking suspicion that there may be some people skipping the dinner to go do that. They are
Really? I mean, there's so many card games
Yeah.
at Gen Con. Like, I did not even realize until I was looking at it last year. And especially now that there's like Disney Lorcana that's also big. And some of the like card games in general, I think are gaining a little bit of popularity at like bigger conventions and stuff too. And it's like, there are so many there. Like, and if you want to look at card games and the board games, honestly, 4 days does not sound like even enough time to like check out all of the stuff.
no.
Oh.
I've got Origins here in Ohio, at least in the early summer, and then Gen Con, and hopefully over 8 days, or I guess 9 days, because Origins is technically 5. I can try my best to try what I can.
There you go. Well, we'll have to get a report back from you after the Dark Tournament. Tournament? Is that?
Yeah.
That sounds so weird saying that, but yes. And see if you can get your spot in that Wish tournament. That would be super, super cool.
Yeah, I got 3 tries, so hopefully I don't go for 3.
3 tries for 3 wishes. That's okay. I see how it works. You got this in the bag.
Can you get all the wishes if you win each one?
Oh no! So basically, to get in to qualify, you need to win a release event. So first place, you get in. So I'm going to 3 release events. So I have 3 chances. But then I've only got 1 shot to play for the Wish, and that tournament is constructed. So definitely a different beast than the sealed you need to qualify.
For sure.
All right. Dankest, do you want to lead us into our roundtable topic of the week?
Sure. So do we want to go through the competitive announcements pretty quickly, or do we just want to go right to it?
Yeah, let's cover those real quick. Sorry. I totally scrolled way too far down in the notes. Okay, just kidding. Scratch what I said. Save that for like about 3 minutes ahead of time. Ron, take us through our competitive and tournament.
Absolutely.
But,
so we don't actually have a whole lot of different news for competitive and organized play. Just in Pokemon is our main source of information, and that is that the standard format will be rotating on April 5th for in-person events and March 22nd for TCG Live. Cards with the E regulation mark will no longer be legal for play in the 2024 standard format. Cards with F, G, and H regulation marks will be legal to use, as will any future regulation marks that may be released. And of course, you've got the big new expansion for Pokemon coming very soon with Temporal Forces on March 22nd, hence the March 22nd date for TCG Live. Beyond that, outside of Pokemon, we have for Magic Con Chicago is also happening today soon at time of podcast where we're recording. It is in Chicago from February 23rd through 25th. So this weekend right now, Magic Con Chicago going down, and should be exciting to hear the results of that. That's all I got for competitive and organized play for now.
All right. So now it's 3 minutes in the future. We made it. We're here now to talk about our... No worries. We get to talk about something fun, though. So this is something, that applies to a lot of card games. And it's about top-down and bottom-up design. So these sort of things are the different approaches that a designer can take when making cards. And top-down design is when you start out with that concept, that character, or that thing from your game's world that just stands out to you, and you convert that thing into a card. So the classic example, and the one that Dawn alluded to earlier, is the Magic card Raging River, which more or less divides your board into a river. And the effect, or with a river, and the effect is just so easy to digest. When someone is declaring blocks, they have to put their blockers on either side of the river. And then the attacker puts their attackers on either side of the river. And only blockers on the same side can block unless they have flying, in which case they can cross over and block on the other side. So this design is super, super cool because immediately you see this raging river and a canyon on the art, and you just know right away what it does. The flavor is just oozing from that rules text. Then bottom-up design is the opposite. You make a card that needs to fit in your game to make it play well and run smoothly, and you find the part in your lore, within your characters, within the world that fits that rules text, and you work backwards and make it there. So I thought that it would be cool as a roundtable topic if we could talk maybe about some examples of these sort of designs, which we find most effective and enjoy ourselves, and just sort of soapbox on it a little. It's just a cool thing.
Yeah, I love the concept, and we had some good examples to illustrate it from what you described, and I feel like there's just two very different schools of thought behind those. I'm trying to think of like some really good Hearthstone examples, and I know that there are some, but you'll have to come back to me for the Hearthstone ones as I think on it a little more.
Yeah, I know that personally when I think of Hearthstone, it's usually the older sets where I feel like these top-down designs are shining best. And from the classic set, the two that jump out most are Leroy Jenkins and Nat Pagle. Just because clearly these were not cards that I think they designed when they were trying to figure out how to make Hearthstone the best card game possible. They were instead like, Leroy Jenkins is sweet. What does he do?
Yes.
He charges in there, no regard for his own life, and he hits hard. And there are some dragons that are just in there, and he's going to die to the little whelps. He's going to die to the mobs. And it's perfect. You see this card with this big attack number, this tiny health number. It says charge, and those two little whelps that he makes on the other side of the board are enough to kill him. If you know the story of Leroy Jenkins, then that card is just going to be a complete delight to you because it just is exactly what you expect. And then Nat Pagle is the same. He's just sitting there fishing. Once again, not a card that needs to be there, but he's just having a good time. Sometimes he catches his fish and draws a card. Sometimes he doesn't. And he doesn't attack. He doesn't move. He's just sitting in his spot, enjoying his time in the sunshine. And yeah, those cards to me are the ones that just really give the game a lot of character in those early days.
Absolutely. Great example. I was thinking I have a hard time coming up with what like the bottom up design would be for Hearthstone cards and other cards in general. It's harder to detect, I feel, because the top down is a lot more obvious to see, where it's like, oh, clearly, this is like a flavor concept and you made it into a card. The other type is, let me match the flavor with this mechanic that I think would be good and cool for the game. And without like insight into the developers and what they're thinking, it's a lot harder to figure out which one of these was like the bottom up design one. But I feel like from a general standpoint, we could say a lot about like early Hearthstone stuff. Just for all of the classes in general, there are so many examples of top-down design. Like, okay, we made this class. For instance, we made a rogue. What do rogues do? And backstab immediately is like one where it's like, okay, that's a rogue identity card. We want this to be like something they can do at any given time. So they made it free. Specifically, this character should not be damaged because they're getting surprised, like that whole thing. And similar to with Shadow Step, where it's like, oh, this is what rogues do. This is a rogue identity. Let's let them be able to like bounce the minion and play it again type of thing. So I think Rogue shines like probably the clearest as far as like class top-down design in the early days of designing cards. I'm curious to hear what you might think are like some more obvious examples of bottom up design, because I have a hard time pinpointing any.
So I think that for one, like a few that might sort of come to mind to me is Druid's entire identity in the early days. So there's not really a ramp analog in World of Warcraft, but in card games, it's certainly been a thing and it's been around for a long time. And I know that, when a team is making a game, there might be certain concepts that they try to emulate. And I think ramp was likely one of those. So maybe a card like Wild Growth, to me, is an example of that. And I think it does fit with Druid's identity in a sense, which is how they got where they did. But there's no gaining mana crystals, and at least to my knowledge, gaining maximum MP or additional resources in Warcraft is not something Druids do. If I'm wrong, please just like flame me in the chat, cut me off right now. But there is this sort of consistent identity. It's nature, it's growth. That's like ramp. And, it fits nicely and seamlessly. And I think that they did a good job making that blend. Another one. Yeah.
Like, this is a perfect example. It's like absolutely perfect. We want to have ramp, gain mana, manipulating some element of nature that fits with Druid. Let's give it to Druid. That's perfect. Right. That's a great example of bottom up.
Yeah. And I think another one from a relatively more modern set is in Nathria. We have for removal. And, a lot of the times removal effects aren't quite as exciting, and it's tough to match flavor with something like Shadow Word Death or Shadow Word Pain, where those evoke some image of destruction that makes sense, but you can only come up with so many shadow words before you need to come up with something else. And I love the Light It Burns from Nathria. And, I think they really wanted to have this effect where, this minion hits itself with its own attack, basically. And, they, I think, landed on this flavor of the vampire recoiling from the light, trying to hide and, sort of hurt by their own vampireness, undeadness, vampirism. And, I don't think, like, compared to a top-down design, I don't think that, expectation versus reality of what the card does lines up quite as nicely. But it is still very flavorful. And I think that the card did make Hearthstone a better game and was a successful design. Some may disagree, but, that's their problem.
Well, as a priest hater, I just don't like the card in general. But, your point is sound. I'll agree to that.
Oh. So while you guys may be thinking of examples, I think that, do you feel like this is something that you look for in your games, or are you big on the lore side of top-down designs, or are you more play experience focused?
I think that has changed over time, at least for me, where, like, when I started with the game, I was very much more interested in, like, the lore focus of it. And, like, the flavor of this. Oh, this is cool. That's cool. I remember this character or whatnot. I mean, I think in a way that speaks to a lot of people's experience, and it may be part of the reason why Hearthstone was not originally named just Hearthstone. It was Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft, which they then eventually dropped because, it's too long. We don't need to say all that. Just Hearthstone. You guys know what it is now. But as you kind of get more familiar with the game and you get more comfortable with it and the characters that live within it, I don't know, like with a 10-year-old game, for instance, like Hearthstone, you start to care less and less maybe about the lore of this character. I can only play Leroy Jenkins so many times and hear him shout Leroy Jenkins, and before I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I get it. I get that that's what he does, but, like, how does it impact the game? And would it be a problem if this were to keep reoccurring with whatever effect he has? And not to call out Leroy as a specific card to, that's like problematic or not. although he did wind up getting nerfed at some point. The general point is you start to get a little bit more, at least for me, you get a little bit more interested in, okay, yeah, but what does it do? And what are the mechanics of the card? And if they print some brand new card with some interesting backstory, yeah, okay. But like, is it good? Am I going to put it in my deck? Or am I not? Because I'm not going to put it in my deck because this is the coolest character I've ever seen, and I identify in some way with the backstory, or it's like really exciting or interesting. I'm going to put it in my deck because it's broken and it's going to win a game. So like that's sort of, and I think that changes for everybody also, depending on their relationship with the game, how much they play it, and what their goals are for their experience while they play the game.
Yeah, completely 100% agree with that. Like, I was also the same way, like very much at the beginning. It was like, oh, like I know these characters, right? Sylvanas and Ragnaros and Leroy, and you're like, this is cool. And, you know, it's kind of the same with a lot of these other games, right? Like Star Wars Unlimited, you're like, oh, cool, Luke Skywalker and Vader and like the TIE Fighter. And like, I know these things. And then, you know, so I think that is a big source of like what just kind of initially attracts people is that kind of flavor and looking and saying like those really iconic maybe characters or things like that across any game. I think Lorcana is probably a great example of that too. Like, you know, Mickey Mouse or whatever, like people want those very iconic characters to be more of that top-down design, right? They're like, they know that character. They want to see that do the thing that they think it's going to do or relate in some way. But yeah, as people have a different, you know, play style or a different, like Ron said, like a goal with the game, I'm the same way too. Like as I've played more and more and my focus got to be more competitive and just like playing the decks and learning that, I could care less about the flavor of the card, right? I'm like, I don't really give a crap what the character is. Like give me some Hearthstone exclusive character, give me some random, you know, character in a neutral card that I don't even know who he is. I don't care, right? Like, I just want to play the card. And then that, like, my focus, I guess, shifted more towards caring a bit more about how the card related to the game and the mechanics and stuff. And then I cared quite a bit more about the bottom-up design there. And I think that I feel like Ron kind of mentioned this earlier, too, where some of the designs, it might be hard for just the typical like average player to also differentiate which one is which. Or I feel like some of the card games have also gotten very good at adding a lot of flavor to cards that they probably created as bottom-up design cards. Mm-hmm. So then you're like, wow, like the flavor fits this card or this expansion or whatever like so well. But it was initially created as like, hey, we need another like Death Rattle card. Or we need, you know, new keyword like for Hearthstone, you know, we need another miniaturized card. Like, we'll put this character in, you know. But then they end up creating such a good flavorful character or card with the art, with the name, with the voice lines, right? That then you're like, I don't even know. I can't tell if this was which. So there's probably some cards that I love that could honestly be either, and I have no idea. I feel like
I have a...
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think Reno is like the classic of that for Hearthstone, where you know, they pulled this character out of nowhere, just made him up, and he's literally, his name is just a riff on Indiana Jones. That's really all he has going for him. And, you know, sure, no duplicates, why not? But you hear that "we're gonna be rich," that sound effect, and boom, instant fan favorite. Every set later, Reno cares about having no duplicates in your deck, and everyone is just on board and loves it. And you know, they just
Harrison Jones weeping in the shadows, by the way. The original riff on the Indiana Jones character got like way overshadowed by, I mean, which is probably good because Harrison Jones is literally just Harrison Ford plus Indiana Jones. They just took the two
that belongs in a museum.
I don't know.
Maybe they get sued for that.
Maybe we'll get Harrison versus Reno as the last expansion of the year.
Ooh.
Oh my
We'll
god.
But I was thinking, to Dragon Rider's point, I really love that point, and I feel like I also have a very good example of that for, I think it's probably bottom-up design, but I truly don't know, and that would be from Badlands in Hearthstone, the card Theldarin the Lost. Because it's, the effect is like, okay, we want to have something that attacks everything on board and hits face. Like, this is a unique type of effect that gets a payoff from having no duplicates in your deck, and you can make it a minion and buff it so it does more damage, so it's not just a static thing, and that can play into like hand buff effects and so on that we want to do for a class. What character would fit with this? And there's also Theldarin the Lost, who is in Badlands in WoW, and well, he's a punchy dwarf. You know, and they're like, hey, wouldn't that be perfect to have this effect that we want attached to a punchy dwarf? And he says, I'm going to punch you. And then he punches everything. And, you know, obviously the attack is related to what his attack is, which you can increase with certain effects. But maybe that was a top down where they're like, hey, we have a punchy dwarf. Can we just have him punch everything? And then they design it. I don't know. I feel like maybe it was more likely to be bottom up because the effect is unique and they wanted to design things around an effect. But I could be totally wrong. That could just have been like a top down design instead.
Yeah, and I think those designs are particularly great, where you can have such a good play experience that you would think it's bottom up, but also have, you know, such flavor that top down could fit. And like when the designers find that sweet spot, it's rare but excellent.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
yeah, like I know my own theory on it is basically that you need the top down designs to bring players in and get them invested, and you need the bottom up ones to keep them around and enjoying the game, because eventually, like you said, those flavorful cards will wear out their welcome if they don't make for fun games proper.
So that makes me curious then, if you have a specific kind of preference with the design, if you think one like stands out above the other, or you're just fully advocating for some kind of like delicate balance between top down and bottom up. Is there one that you prefer to see in games?
So for me, I just geek out over top down. I'm
nice.
Like for me, like, you know, bottom up is certainly more important for me as a player. But when I see a top down design that just nails it, it gets me so excited. And, you know, that was part of the reason why I think Universus like sort of drew me in so much when I first started, because my wife and I had just finished about the first 2/3 of My Hero Academia. And when you have a TV show where you have all of these characters who have extremely unique, hyper specific superpowers called quirks, and then you play the card game, and if you covered up the art and name of the card and just read the effects, you would be like, this is so and so for every single character, and you'd be right.
Nice.
Like the designers did such an amazing job of just nailing it right then and there. And, you know, as later sets have come out, the game is still good and it plays excellent. But I think that sort of thing has been lost. And, you know, at this point, you can cover up the top half and narrow it down to maybe half a dozen to a dozen characters, but it's not quite the same as knowing exactly who that character is when you see it. And, you know, I think that it's tough because you do have to find that balance to sort of keep people on and have them be like, hey, and especially if they like the IP or like the lore of the game, they need those little reminders like, hey, this world is cool and this is what it provides that other ones cannot. But yeah, card design is really, really neat. And this is, like I said, why I picked the dinner. I want to hear these stories. I want to learn about these things. I don't want to have to guess. I want to know the answer.
Ooh. I find that very interesting because I also love that you brought up the whole covering up the art and the name, because I was going to bring up that same exact point, but for my preference of the bottom up design, which is that like here's a perfect example of why I like the kind of effects of cards, and I could care less about the actual like the art or the name, like the flavor of it. Because how many times when I'm casting, especially, or like if you hear casters, if they forget the name of a card, who cares? If you can describe what the card does, people will know what you're talking about. And for me, I'm like, that feels so important, right? Like if you can describe like what it is, or you're saying like, yeah, the 5/4 minion that removes a weapon. That's Harrison Jones, right? But like you don't have to say Harrison Jones, right? Like
the thing, the thing.
But so like for me, I find it so interesting because I think I definitely did like that, the kind of top down, the like flavor initially. And yeah, it draws me to games, but as someone who just loves card games, like it definitely for me is the like bottom up design that I prefer overall. I'm like, I don't care. Put a different art piece in there, name it something else. I do love some of those names and all that, but over time, I will probably forget those characters. I will probably forget the name, especially once they rotate to wild or whatever. If I don't have those in my collection, it's out of my brain. My brain doesn't have space to hold all that info. Like, I'm going to forget about that.
Yeah.
But I will remember what the card does or what the card did. Especially if it was something that I either hated playing against or loved playing myself, right? Like then I'm much more likely to remember those cards, and those are the cards that are going to stick with me, even if I can't remember what they were called or what the art was. So it's so interesting that like you brought up the covering the art and name, because I was thinking that same thing, but for the other side.
That's funny. I have to say I'm kind of more in Dragon Rider's camp on this one too. It's just like when it comes to play experience, it ultimately winds up being just a lot more important to me, at least in the stage of my relationship with the game now, as far as Hearthstone is concerned. Like, now I will say that like the top-down design will often wind up being my favorite if the effect is well done, because that just has such a greater appeal and connection that you can make. Like Leroy Jenkins is one of my favorite cards of all time in Hearthstone because they nailed it. Like it's perfect flavor, and it's a cool, fun like finisher card to play. So you get to play that card and win. On the flip side, people can hate it because they hear the voice line Leroy Jenkins and then they die, and oh man, that's a frustrating thing. But I like the bottom up design so much more, just as far as like effects and impact on the game, that you could probably design a card called like Mr. Dum Dum the Stupid. And if he has a good effect, it might be my favorite card ever. Like his lore is nothing. He's an idiot. He just wandered into Hearthstone. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't care if his art looks bad. I don't care if his name is dumb, even if it's literally dumb. Like, if the card is good and it wins me games, I will probably like the card more than this is the coolest card I've ever seen. Also, it sucks, so I'm never going to play it.
Okay, I've got another Hearthstone example that I feel like this was probably a bottom-up design, but the flavor was so good that that's what people remember. All right, I'm going to say the voice lines, 2 voice lines. You guys tell me if you know what card I'm talking about. Hey, loser! Wasn't me!
Oh, yeah.
This sounds like Tyrion, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say Penflinger.
It is, in fact, Penflinger.
Like, the design of, like, a ping damage, and then, obviously, some decks took advantage of, like, bouncing it back to your hand and replaying it over and over, but that had to have been bottom-up design, right? Like, they didn't just say, oh, like, let's put a Penflinger in and then, like, come up with something. Like, no, I feel like they created that effect, and then they were like, okay, this is what? That was Skullomance, right? So, like, okay, it's like a magical school, and, like, how do we fit this, kind of character into this design? I feel like that is probably a bottom-up design that also had such good flavor that like people remember it, and I think also a lot of people liked or hated whichever one, but people knew the card because of the flavor and effect.
Yeah, it was rough. You get called a loser like 10 times in a row as you're dying on like the final turn, something like that. Hey loser, it wasn't me. Hey loser, it wasn't me. You're like, oh god. But they did kind of, it is pretty well done for the flavor for a card that just, it was like, okay, we're gonna do this ping effect and you can bounce it. You know, it fit extremely well with the design. So that is something, as long as the game designers can do something like that and sort of make it harder to determine which one is which, I think we're all collectively kind of more fans of that than something that's a bit more obvious, like, okay, here's an effect, whatever.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, like we might have to do an episode sometime on why Scholomance is the greatest set ever. I think that that's actually a reasonable roundtable topic. But that reminds me of another one, because I was just playing an arena run earlier today. And, you know, I was playing with Troublemaker, another Scholomance card that I would imagine is a bottom-up design. But if you know this voice line, you gonna cry? Do you know what card that is? Those are the little ruffian tokens that the Troublemaker makes that go in. And
yeah.
some designer must have been like bullied in school or something, or was a school bully, because the voice lines are all just spot on. You know, like there's those troublemakers throwing their pens at you, trying to make you cry, causing some trouble, those little hoodlums. It's just a wonderful, wonderful set.
Definitely.
That really was. Oh, that really was a good set.
Well, that was like the introduction of dual class too, right? I think that was the first time we had dual class cards. And I mean, that just alone, pretty big hit.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it depends on what you consider, because Mean Streets of Gadgets.
Yes, that's what I was going to say, because they had those, they were technically tri-class cards and not like dual class, but
also they
know,
were,
however you
they
want
were all
to...
really bad, right? In Gadgets End.
Some were decent.
I feel like most of them were bad. I don't know. I remember tri-class being like a flop, but dual class being a big hit.
Well, the tri-class that you played was bad.
I mean, okay, fair.
Shots fired!
Gadgets End was literally like probably my least favorite Hearthstone expansion maybe ever, because I remember the entire Hunter class being fully unplayable for the entirety of the expansion. Like, I didn't even play Hunter the entire expansion. I played Priest the whole expansion. That's
what? Oh,
and Dragon Priest was great. Dragon Priest was fun to play.
Dragon Priest, that's okay, fair.
And Hunter made me sad. So, yeah, it's a weird time. It's a weird Hearthstone time.
This is really interesting, because actually now thinking about it, like I feel like I remember loving Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, but I cannot tell you. I know there was Jades, the Jade Golems, and I know there was tri-class cards, and that is all I remember about the cards themselves. But I remember the flavor of it. I remember the, like, you know, the I guess kind of story of like these, you know, these street gangs like against each other, and then like that's what introduced the tri-class cards, and like I remember the flavor of all of that, but I cannot tell you what any cards were from that set. So maybe that's a good example of that, like potentially more of the top down like flavor design, and like maybe the
that makes me wonder, how would we characterize Gadgetzan as a whole as an expansion? Was that a top down design expansion, or was that a bottom up expansion by and large for like the majority of the cards?
I would guess probably mostly top down. There are some though where, you know, you have Mr. Patches the Pirate, I'm in charge now. That seems very much like kind of sort of hits the fusion, but is Patches real in Warcraft? Do you guys know of this character? Because I've never played Warcraft in my life.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So I would assume that one was bottom up. But I but but I think that designs like Kazakis certainly feel kind of like that mix that you were talking about before, where I think they wanted to do something cool, like creating a custom potion, but designed all of the lore around the character to fit that sort of theme. And I think that they struck the balance really well with the Cabal. Then, yeah, but we could talk about...
Patches the Pirate was in World of Warcraft.
Was? Okay.
Yes.
Was he in charge?
I don't know. It says this NPC can be found in Freehold. That doesn't help you, but there you go. He had an ability called Shadow Charge. Charges an enemy and inflicts a bunch of shadow damage and stuns enemies.
Well, there's a wild amount of NPCs and other things in World of Warcraft. I guess there's like an endless amount of random characters Hearthstone could pick and choose from and just like throw into Hearthstone. And it's like, you guys come up with this? No, it's actually like in this forgotten area.
Isn't that exactly what they did with Sir Finley Murgleton? Like, Sir Finley is in WoW, but he's not really like... He doesn't really have his own like story or background or anything, but they created a story and like gave him lore in Hearthstone, and he's become like a beloved character in Hearthstone. So
yeah. Well, I think that's a great discussion, but I see we have a question in the chat from I Love Totinos. What are your favorite non-card / strategy games? Do you guys have any opinions on that?
As far as like not involving cards, I mean, I first got into like strategy games, like real-time strategy type stuff with Warcraft and StarCraft. Those are always like top tier for me. Not like Warcraft 1 necessarily, probably Warcraft 2 was when I really got into it. And yeah, it's like from the mid 90s, leave me alone. Also there's like StarCraft and the expansion for StarCraft that like still to me it's extremely fond memories and some of my favorite experiences. And then less strategy wise, but like overall game and lore wise and everything. One of the favorite games of mine that I've ever played was Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which is a role-playing game. Just I feel like they knocked it out of the park with every aspect of it.
Yeah. How about you, Dankest?
So for just non-strategy games altogether, I can say that Super Smash Brothers has probably been my biggest past passion. I have not gotten as many chances to play it these days, but I've played Smash 64 and Smash 4 in lots of tournaments and had a ton of fun with that. And I did recently make it out to my ultimate local a couple months ago, and will hopefully make it out again. So love me some Smash Bros. And also I love RPGs, like the Paper Mario and other Mario and Luigi RPGs are some of my favorite games. And I'm excited to probably dig into the first Final Fantasy VII Remake game probably next week to try to get it in before the next version, or before the second one comes out next Thursday, I think. So lots of cool stuff.
Nice.
Oh no. Oh, the comment. That
Mini
brings back some
StarCraft
memories.
game ending abruptly due to failure to pick up the phone.
Unlucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's I apologize, Totino. That is a very like tell me how old you are without telling me how old you are, because I'm sure there are some people who will be watching this and they don't know what that means, and bless their hearts. But I'm glad, Dankest, that you answered before I did, because I misread this question. Honestly, I was like, I read it as what are your favorite non-card strategy games? So I was trying to think of strategy games that I like that aren't card games, and I was like, oh yeah, there's some. And then you answered, and I was like, oh wait, non-strategy. Oh, what games do I like that don't involve card games or strategy?
Wait, what?
Shoot.
Brain malfunction. Did you say no cards? What?
I know,
Excuse me?
Okay. So then my answer is which I don't know. I don't think this is strategy, but I feel like I still play strategically. Oh my god.
Well, there's strategy in
Okay,
any game, so don't get too hung up on that.
Unless you're playing Candyland, then you can just sort of say there isn't. But
no, okay. Even those. All right, here. So here's my couple of answers. All right, things like The Sims or like 2 Point Hospital, 2 Point Campus. Like any game where you like make your own theme park, like those kind of games. I love those games. But also, I still feel like I play them very strategically, right? Like, okay, I need to hit this level of happiness. Like, what's the best way to like hit this level of happiness? And I'm always trying to I don't know. And then I would say the other games, these are like my guilty pleasures, I guess, are those stupid like cooking games on mobile. Where you're like, you have to cook the burger and then you gotta you put the bun on the plate and you gotta cook the patty and then put the patty on there. And then some people want a plain burger and some people want one with lettuce and some people want with lettuce and tomatoes. And you're clicking all fast, just trying to serve all these customers their plates of food. Those are like my guilty pleasure phone games. And yep, that's the first time I've probably ever said that out loud to anyone. So there you go. Something nobody probably knew about me.
Well done. You got to play Overcooked or Played Up. Those are
yes, I have. And I am so bad at them. I am much better at the phone ones where everything's really close together and I just, can smash my finger on the screen. Overcooked, you do have to be more strategic and coordinated with a controller, which I am not. This is why I play the computer, or I don't have to use the joysticks and remember which button in which area is which. I suck at that. I'm so bad with controllers.
This is why we're card makers,
a
folks.
solid choice. It's like a love-hate relationship, right?
Yeah. I mean, seriously, if anyone doubts my controller skills, watch me trying to play through the first, Little Nightmares. Oh, it was terrible. And also, when I tried to play Lego Batman with the controller.
Oh yeah,
I couldn't figure out. Yeah, I couldn't figure out the buttons. I didn't know what was happening.
Did you murder Alfred and Robin?
Yep. I punched Robin to death, and then I punched Alfred off of the cliff in the Batcave. I don't know how to use controllers apparently and play those games. So this is why
honestly, I feel like that's an improvement.
Card. Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah. So yeah, if it's not a card game or strategy game,
relationships with things too. Yeah. For instance, I also really love playing sports video games, like a lot of Madden and NCAA and stuff like that. And yeah, it's rage inducing in a lot of ways. It's simultaneously something that oh my god, I love this so much, and also I have never felt so much hatred in my life right now.
And now we're back around to card games.
Yep.
Perfect.
There you go.
There's cards in that, and there's cards in FIFA. See, you nailed it. And Totino's and anyone else in the chat, put the games you like there too. Always looking for new stuff to try.
Absolutely. Yes. All right. Anything else that either of you want to cover or talk about before we wrap up for this week?
I'm good to wrap it. This was great.
Yes, I enjoyed it. That was wonderful. I feel like we had 3 conversations in one, but it was wonderful, and they all tied together.
We could probably make a couple other shows out of a few things we touched on here. Yeah,
probably. we're very good at that. But yes, we would love to hear more from you. Thank you all so much for checking this out. But if you do want to reach out to us, tell us what games you enjoy, even if they're not card games. You can email us at tccgroundtable@protonmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at TCCG Roundtable. And also on Twitter, you can check out that top pinned tweet for a link to our Discord, or you can find that in the YouTube description or in the show notes. And if you are interested in checking out the video versions, which is hilarious because you can actually like see us laughing and chatting and me always talking with my hands. Isn't that like, okay, I just got to pause here. Isn't that like an Italian family thing? I don't like, I feel like that's, I'm not. I just talk with my hands.
I mean, everybody talks with their hands in the Northeast. That's just what we do.
Yeah. I'm not from the Northeast.
Yeah. It's characteristic of a lot of people.
I don't
know. It's not look, just one way, but yeah.
I grew up in Colorado, which I know is not typically what people consider like Midwest, but I think it is. And we still use a lot of like the Midwestern slang and stuff. Ope. I say ope all the time. Yeah, no, yeah. That I say that a lot. I talk with my hands a lot. I don't know. I'm some weird like mix of like Midwestern, Northeastern, but I'm not from either of those places. I don't know. Anyways, so if you want to see all of that, check out the video versions of our show on YouTube at youtube.com dragonrider TCCG. You can also listen to just the audio versions if that's what you prefer, anywhere that you can find podcasts. And if you are looking for some sweet like gaming, card game merch, like dice, card sleeves, playmats, any of that kind of cool stuff, we'd love it if you would use our Inked Gaming affiliate link, and you get to get some cool merch and help directly support us as well. So we would definitely appreciate that. And yeah, so that's where you can find the show as a whole. But let's get some info from our other hosts here. DankestDad, where can people find more from you?
People can find my articles on the Amberflight Gaming website, which is very accessible. And you can see my thoughts on other things on twitter.com/daddankest.
All right, awesome. And Ron, how about yourself?
And you can find me on Twitter at Ron_HS. You can also find me streaming on Twitch Monday through Friday, every weekday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I am at RonMexico HS on Twitch.
And as for myself, you can find me on Twitter at DonnieDK. That's DAWNIEDK. And you can find me on Twitch and YouTube, dragonrider TCCG. And every week talking standard Hearthstone over at the Dr. 3HS podcast. And again, thank you all so much for joining us this week. And we will see you at the roundtable.